Some of the constitutional rights that we have had that seem to be slipping away. And I have had an experience of that and wanted to tell you a little bit about that right now. It was coming back from a medical examination that I had at the University of Washington in Seattle. I walked into the airport at SeaTac. It was in November of 2010, right after the full body scanner and the invasive procedure had started. And first of all, I was really excited, thinking that it was going to be so much easier going through the full body scan. But what I didn't realize, and have been faced with yet again this last year, and that is that full body scanner and all of the equipment that looks at the body in the way that it does, not only has potential radiation danger, but it's going to see people like me, people whose bodies are not normal, where we've had operations, where something has happened to us that makes us look different. And what that will do is say, I'm a potential terrorist. So the woman stands in front of me, tells me that she's going to use a term which I will not use. It's a physical examination with that employee's own hands. Yes, they wear blue gloves, but they are touching you in a way that I have never been touched before. And I am a veteran of breast cancer, and I have had medical treatment in that area. Just went through an exam very recently with my nurse practitioner and was not touched to the same severe touch, invasive touch, that I was by employees that had very poor training, not only in how to touch me, but how to treat me. So this last February, I wind up in Seattle again for medical purposes. And again, I'm at the airport, and I'm coming up to the TSA area, and they asked me to stand in front of what I suddenly recognize as the full body scanner. I instantly remember the promise that I have made to my husband that I will never go through that kind of touch again. And I turn and face a woman putting blue gloves on. I instantly broke into her attempts to tell me what she's going to do to me, and told her she needed to call the authorities, that I would be escorted off of the airport campus, and that I would not fly back by air. I suddenly realized that I was faced with trying to figure out how I was going to get back to the legislative session and Juneau. What I have done since that time is I have not flown again in an airplane that had as a method of getting to it a scanning device or touch that's inappropriate, that would break the constitutional rights I have. Since the fact that I did tell people exactly what I went through, and people across the nation heard that story, I've received well more than 1,000 emails, calls, letters, people talking to me on the street, wherever I traveled, and even this last summer when I was traveling in places throughout the lower United States, people have talked to me about the invasive and far more frightening situations that they have gone through at airports throughout the United States, and Alaskans who went outside, like myself, for medical or family or other important reasons. The stories that I have heard of trauma, of the men and women who have gone through amazingly invasive experiences, very traumatic experiences at the airport, the people that we need to be protecting, the real signs that we have a real sickness that has occurred in the way that our public policy has been handed to a group that do not have oversight. It's really critical to Alaska, it's critical to the rest of the United States to make positive that we uphold our constitutional rights and that we uphold the knowledge that we had, that you have to have public officials, myself and others, held accountable. Make positive that we're in the public view, that things do not happen without the public having a say in what happens. The traumatic stories told to me by so many people, and so many of them here in Alaska, has led me through the time since my own experience to be working with people in Alaska, across Alaska, and it's a great group. It's the Alaska Freedom to Travel group, and we'll be showing the address to their website. One of the groups that I'm working with also is the national group of state legislators that are all putting in legislation across the nation. There are 9 states that are members so far, several others that are signing up, and we're talking with each other, really giving back up to each other to make sure that each of our states has a chance to pass legislation to make sure that Congress and United States government does understand the severity of what has happened in our airways, the security that's being breached by not taking care of the health of our people. So working on the national level, working on the state level, and this week pre-filed 2 pieces of legislation. One that demands that there be signage at the airport so that when people go into the TSA security area, that they know what they're doing, that they are told what will happen. And that signage will be done by the state of Alaska. That's one piece of legislation. The other piece of legislation that was pre-filed is saying that it's not acceptable for people to have to get to their transportation by going through the kinds of procedures that we now, in several towns in Alaska, are having to go through. I have 2 other bills that I'm working on. One that will be actually doing a health study of what the physical and behavioral health outcomes are of the touch that people go through. We need to know what damage is being done to our people. And the 4th piece of legislation that I would like to work on and have talked with the Department of Transportation, have talked to other folks as well, is taking advantage of a situation that I understand is happening in various places in the nation where airports are opting out of the TSA security procedures, and they're developing their own advanced and far superior ways of keeping the airwaves safe and people safe and being treated well. Those are issues that we're working on. The public needs to be involved. Please do check the email addresses that you'll see and help us. And we all can work together to be safer on the airplane and in our own personal lives. And thank you.